Hey, in this video, you're going to learn how to get more leads from the pages that are optimized for SEO. I know nothing about it, but I've invited Joanna, who is the founder of Copy Hackers, one of the best conversion copywriting agencies. She took one of our pages that is actually performing very well on Google search, but because the copy was optimized for search engines, but not for people, the conversion rate is horrible. It's one of the lowest. Now, based on that page, she gave an amazing advice on how to get more leads and, most important, better leads from the page without compromising on search engine optimization. It was very valuable for us, and I hope you can take that advice and work on optimizing your landing pages that are working for SEO. So let's dive right in.
Hey, Alexander. Here is my take on this page. So this is, as we discussed before this, it's performing well. It's doing better organically, which was its original purpose, to help people find lemon organically. So cool. It's working its way up the SERP. Awesome. And now it's time to do something with people when they get here, turn them into more and more leads. And it's already working, as you mentioned, but there's always room to optimize. So let's talk about how we would go about optimizing this, how I would in looking at it. So I'm always thinking list, offer, and then copy. So the list, those people arriving organically, they've searched something related to hire Python developers. So we can believe that they're further along in their decision-making process. They might be trying to answer some early questions about hiring Python developers. We don't know based on that keyword where they are, but they are thinking of the solution. Their problem is they need a Python developer for X. The solution stage now is I want to hire a Python developer. And that might be a big, we've got these 5 stages of awareness, and I'm going to quickly do them. Unaware, problem aware, solution aware, that's where these people are. Product aware, that's where they discover lemon, and then they start to learn a bunch about lemon. And then most aware is typically where that conversion happens. So, okay, they're no longer unaware, hopefully. They're no longer problem aware. They still have that awareness, but they've moved on to looking for solutions. Okay, so they land here. We need to move them from being solution aware to ideally being early product aware by the end of the page, aka by the time they get to a CTA, call to action, button, whatever. So the CTA on this page is around actually becoming a lead. So good, that's early-ish product awareness. They don't need to know that much about lemon in order to become a lead, a little. And we'll talk about like the surface level stuff, the early stage stuff that they need to know about the product before they're a really good lead. So cool. We just want to get more leads in by the end of this page and make sure that they're as good as possible. So of course, any page, if you just put a button on it, you're going to get an increase in clicks, but are they any good? Of course not. So the question is not just how much goes on the page, but how much doesn't go on the page too. What do we need to say to people, and how much of it do we need to say when they land here in order to get them cool with saying yes to the offer? Okay, how do we do this? Okay, so we talked about list, offer, copy. List, those people coming here are solution aware. The offer then needs to match that early product awareness that I was talking about. Now, this can sometimes seem like that feels complicated. Can't we just say, here's what you're going through and here's our product? 100%. But there's like this whole big gap between here's what you're going through and here's our product. There's all the solutions they've tried, all the solutions that have failed them, that are too expensive for them, that sometimes weren't expensive enough, or that were really low quality. Their experiences in ever trying to hire a Python developer, and this is true for anybody. Anytime you're in this solution awareness before you're aware of a product, there's a lot going on for you. So we need to make sure that that's captured on the page in an order that moves people closer to being ready for that offer. So list. Now let's look at the offer itself. So the first time we see a button, and this is why you want to be careful before you put a button too high up on a page, as anybody who works with our agency is like, can't we put a button sooner? No, not until they're ready for it. So here's the first button we have. Now this comes after 4 paragraphs, each of which has one sentence, but these are some pretty meaty paragraphs. I'm not going to talk about changing things because I know this is performing well for SEO and that's still the early goal. So it makes sense that Python is what you're talking about as your hook here. From a conversion perspective, it's not a strong hook, right? It's Python is this. And when it comes down to it, I don't care about Python. I know I have to solve for my Python needs, but I don't care about Python. I care about me. I care about what I'm struggling with, what that problem was that drove me to solution awareness. I'm trying to build a product, optimize a product, and bigger than that, I'm trying to make money, bring my vision to life, bring my goal to life. Or if I'm working for somebody else at an organization, I'm trying to make sure I hit my goals, my targets, so that I keep my job, get my bonus, get more headcount, get all the things that I need in order to be more successful. Okay, it'd be better to hook them with something like that. But currently you're solving for the Python keyword. So, okay, we deal with that. So we're talking to them about Python. Using it for website development is just one thing you can use it for. There's also game development and app development. Cool. This is, again, I'm assuming just good for keywords. We're just solving Google problems up here. Due to the language's simplicity, all these other things, Python developers can nail your backend tasks. Backend's important because of this. If it's poorly executed, all the fancy web design be in vain. Server-side code. You want to hire Python developers who know their stuff. I'd be curious to see how many good leads click Python experts at your fingertips. One, although I do love the look and feel of lemon.io, we were very happy to participate in writing the copy for lemon.io. It's a really strong brand voice. It just doesn't look like a button. So if nothing else, I would just put a arrow pointing, click here, and you don't just say click here, but the point being ta-da, this is where you click, because I'm worried that because there's no action word at the front of this, it can be a little tricky for some people to get that it's a button. It doesn't really look like one. It could be something else. Now, I'm not saying that most people will miss that it's a button, but you will have had to read this and pay attention to really get that it's a button. It doesn't look like one. So even if 90% of your leads think it looks like a button, there's often a lot of room for optimization in that other forgotten percentage of people where you're like, oh, who would even care about that? Some people would, and they could actually be really good leads. They just didn't know that a thing that doesn't look like a button is actually a button. Not their fault. Definitely not their fault. So let's help them know that it's a button. And that could also mean adding an action word at the front, like get Python experts at your fingertips, or hire a Python developer today, because that would then match what they were looking for. Hire a Python developer today, or something like that, which is a stronger match for that keyword. Okay. I'm not going to talk too much about that. We really do want to focus on, when we're talking about list offer copy, the question here is the offer. For me, this is part of the problem with pages that are meant for SEO, is if you've written them to follow conversion copywriting frameworks, like if you opened with a problem like need to hire Python developers, and then talked about the challenges of hiring Python developers, the problem that you know they had, and then get into the solutions that they've tried. And you can do it really short form here too, because what we're really doing with this page, as far as I can tell here, is this up until the bottom of this button. This is the part you want most people to pay attention to. It's optimized for Google, of course. So next iteration, optimize it for user a little before Google. So reframe this part in problem, open with their problem, agitate that problem a bit. Like, here's what you were going through. Here are some solutions you've tried. So problem, agitation, solution. Then yours is one of the solutions that they should be considering, or maybe they've tried the other crappy ones, and here you go. This is a short teardown, so there's only so much I can say here, but I would treat the top of this page up until the point of this first CTA as a page of its own. Just treat it like its own page, and everything else then you can treat as a long form sales page. So revisit this, keeping what you need to keep Google happy. I'm not saying cut things. It might just be reordering things. So it's clear that here's the problem. Here's how that came to life for you. Here are some solutions you've tried that have failed you. Here's a great solution. It's to hire a Python developer, but to do X, Y, and Z, which is really us like X, Y, and Z are things that Lemon offers. So hire that that Python developer, and then talk about the things that they need that are different that only Lemon has, right? And whatever those things are, we can't get into all of those details at this time. Then everything below works more like a long form sales page. So you've optimized the top to capture those early decision makers who are like more ready for that, or even those who just simply won't read that much. Those people exist. It's one of the 4 primary decision makers. They just move really quickly and are unlikely to scroll. So even this, they're unlikely to get to. It's just a question of whether the people coming here, a lot of them fit into that fast moving decision maker or not. And again, there are 4 different types of decision makers at minimum on a page, and a fast moving one that doesn't read is just one of them. Then there are 3 others, 2 of whom read a ton. So you do want to have this long page, not just for Google, but for those other people. Just make sure this is solving for the top part, solving for the other ones. Okay, I think I've made that point clear. Now we want to move on in the remaining 2 minutes. We want to move on to what's going on down here. So if they didn't click this button, our question is, what kept them from clicking that button? And it could be a lack of information. Because as we said, we're in solution awareness and we need to get them to early product awareness. So there's a lot that has to happen in understanding that solution. So we have why Python, but that's really it's one part of solution. First, I have a problem. I think the solution is to hire a Python developer. And so you're saying, okay, let's walk you through that. Do you even need Python? Yes, you do. Okay, if I do, what about a Python developer? And so really the question here is, I think, is there too much of a jump here? So why Python? Here's why. With Python, web development is easier. I guess in some worlds, a person might then go like, well, maybe I can just learn Python. And I'm not suggesting that you go down that path, but for anybody who's watching this, the next step isn't necessarily, oh, you like this, now get this extension of that thing. So you like X, now X plus B. So there might be a Y that follows. I know we're using like the letters all like in crazy land. Point is, it's not always going to jump down like this. So there's a bit of a logic gap here in following the story. But for these purposes, I think it's good. It's just the real question is, do we even need this part? I'd test cutting it and see if it hurts anything. Okay, things Python web developers will do for you. Cool. I wonder if that couldn't be a really good snippet that Google would like and serve up at the top if you put this list up at the top. But anyway, what they'll do for you is these things. So good. And then I want you to get to a place where you tell me what the challenges are. So in-house developers, it's always great to have everything under control, but you have to pay for everything and you'll need a tech-savvy recruiter. Development companies, you don't want to recruit, but it's expensive. Freelance Python developers, the solution you need. Okay, so you're getting me into solution awareness. Then a bit more about that. This, I would say just the look and feel is off, so tweak that. Places to find tested Python, cool. So you're talking through the competition and things that that are trickier about those things. Then you're getting into the salary, and this is if they're going to hire in-house. So good that you're making an argument against why you shouldn't hire in-house. Do you hire okay. I wonder if the CTA shouldn't always be the full report. If this is a good report, I mean, a report's going to turn them into a lead, right? So I would consider what you don't want to do is have multiple offers on a page. You want to write to get people to do that one thing. What you're trying to do is get them convinced that they should reach out to you and discuss their problems, why they need to hire a Python developer with you. This full report might be an easier path in. So as your traffic grows here, it could be worth split testing this page being dedicated where the offer is to download that report, like just rewrite the whole page to be that. And then this version of the page is more about getting the consult. Yeah. And then you have a TLDR, and doesn't a TLDR typically go at the top? I don't know. But yeah, so I'm not sure I've got to a place where I understand lemon yet. So you've got me to late solution awareness, and that's good, but I'm not early product aware. I think I ignored it pretty easily. Just banner blindness, still a thing. I know you talk about lemon in here, and that's good. You've also introduced me to other solutions that I might go check out. So know that. What I need to know before I get to the bottom of the page, because you introduced lemon, you introduced the product, but you included it as one of the solutions, and then you didn't have a separate part that talks about the product itself. So if we're moving through the way people think as they go through that funnel, unaware, problem aware, solution aware, product aware, you want them early product aware so that they say yes to talking to you. If they don't even know who you are yet or what's different or better about you, they're less likely to say yes to becoming a lead. So you have contact our manager, but you have very little here about, now you get into lemon, and it's so small. I would add another section here. And I don't know that it's the TLDR, that might go up at the top anyway, but have a bigger section here that gets into the differences that you get with lemon. I know you had it earlier, but have it again, like you're trying to sell them on your solution. So hopefully that's helpful. We talked about list and offer. We didn't really get into copy because I'm trying to identify what the right offer is for these people and do they understand the offer. But hopefully you can work with that, Alexander. Thanks. Bye.